Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. What's up? What's up? What's up? It is Sunday morning, 11:40. Decided to go ahead and hop on today. Our live from the Splash Cast. I appreciate it. We're gonna take a couple seconds to let you guys come in and join. We're gonna talk about a few things today. We're gonna talk about the Bulldogs with this rally again against the Ole Miss Rebels. We'll talk about the Falcons, and we'll try to figure out what's going on with Ray McLeod. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe Dive Team Media. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to Splashcast. We got a lot of good content coming for you guys. And if you want to join our Splashcast versus the World broadcast group on Instagram, or if you want to join our community on YouTube, make sure you let us know. Send us a DM. We'll put you in there. We talk about a lot of sports. You see all of our posts, all of our upcoming events, all of our upcoming talking points as well. We appreciate you guys tuning in. While we wait for the chat to kind of fill up and fill in, let's go ahead and let's talk about some of these other games. I just got off the live. I wasn't on live. I joined in on other people's lives on Instagram and TikTok, and we were talking about Miami losing to Louisville, as Miami is the number 2 team. So to me, and let me know if y'all can hear me, if everything, this is kind of like a de facto mic check, all of those things. To me, Miami, if I'm speculating, Miami shouldn't fall past probably 8. There were too many other teams that lost for Miami to really fall really, really far. But I can tell you, Miami losing to Louisville at home. Louisville was unranked. They really hadn't beaten anybody. Shout out to Chris Bell Jr., who turned down going to Texas, if I'm not mistaken, to stay at Louisville and develop as a receiver, who now firmly is a top off of that one game. Now, we don't know anything else about him. I don't know anything else about him, but off that one game, Chris Bell has at least earned a combine visit and is probably a top 10 receiver in next year's draft if he decides to go. Just because that game, he was actually unstoppable. So it to me, it was the right move for him. Carson Beck, and y'all let me know in the comments, do y'all think that was Carson Beck's fault that they lost, that Miami lost? 4 picks would tell you that it's their fault, right? One of them, the last one, he says the receiver ran the wrong route. Cool. But he also threw 3 other picks. None of them were really tipped. He hung the ball up in the air too long. And when you get flustered and when he gets off his mark, which we've seen at Georgia as a Georgia fan, when he gets off his mark, he really isn't the most accurate quarterback, and he tends to panic and he throws in the triple coverage. With that being said, Miami isn't done at all by far. They will rebound. They will have they have a pretty much easy schedule going. I think they play like Syracuse, Pitt, North Carolina State. They play, the ACC. They play the ACC, so it's not like they're gonna have. I'm trying to pull up the standings real quick just to see. It's not like they're gonna fall far. Miami lost, Ole Miss lost, Texas Tech lost. So you would assume that Miami has a worse loss than Georgia, has a worse loss than Oregon. Do they have a worse loss than Texas Tech? Texas Tech lost on the road. You would assume, and do they have a worse loss than Ole Miss? So I would assume that OSU is 1, IU is 2, Ohio State is number 1, Indiana is number 2, Texas A&M is number 3. Actually, I lied. I would say Ohio State is 1, Alabama is 2. I lied again. I don't know. Alabama or Indiana? That's a good talking point. Who do you guys feel is better, Alabama or Indiana? Right now, if I had to look at the rankings, I would have Ohio State 1, I would have Indiana 2, Alabama 3, Texas A&M 4, Georgia 5. Then I would have Ole Miss 6, Oregon 7, Miami 8. I think Miami drops to 8. And then I would have, after that, you would probably have to fight it out between LSU, who just lost. Did they lose their second game? How many games has LSU lost? They lost their first game. So LSU probably, no, they lost their second game. That's their second game. So after that part, you would have something like Texas Tech, LSU. I think BYU should make a significant jump. Y'all think BYU should make a significant jump? I mean, aren't they still undefeated, or did they lose? Yeah, they won versus Utah. I think BYU should BYU be in the top 10? I think BYU should be in the top 10. I think they should be 10. They're undefeated. And they play Texas Tech next week. Now, Texas Tech can rebound. Is it next week they play Texas Tech? Texas Tech could rebound. No, they play them 11-8. Next week they play Iowa State. They can rebound. I think BYU can. They play Texas Tech. They still play Cincinnati, which is ranked as well. And I think TCU, if they keep winning out, they'll be ranked. So I think BYU actually, if they win out, could make the playoff. But this is all about Miami losing. So Miami lost, but they're going to drop to 8. Ole Miss I already told y'all. After that, it's kind of a cluster. And there's a team that I forgot to talk about here, and I really think Miami really might drop to 9. Where do you guys evaluate Florida State? I'm sorry. We're not worried about them. Where do you guys evaluate Georgia Tech? Georgia Tech, to me, is an interesting team. They are hard to beat because of that offense, and now their defense is playing better. Do we respect the ACC? Y'all know SEC country doesn't really respect the ACC in football. Basketball, they got it. But football is kind of difficult for us. I don't want to say us, for football fans in the SEC to respect the ACC because of the bottom tier and the drop-off. Georgia Tech still has to play Syracuse. They still play North Carolina State, Boston College, Pitt, and then UGA. They should run through all those teams: 3-4, 4-3, 1-6, 5-2, and then Georgia, of course, being 6-1. They could end up, Georgia could be their best win, or Georgia Tech could be Georgia's best win when it's all said and done. But now that just a few of y'all are in here, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, y'all. It's a big week. Y'all know I got my notes and I got my stats. It was a big week for football. Big week for Georgia football. The two main topics: Georgia survives. I won't even say survives. They rally because I think Ole Miss was ranked higher. Georgia rallies for an instant classic against Ole Miss at home. Lane Kiffin versus Kirby. The Saban Assistant Bowl. They're probably the two best Saban assistants. You got to throw in Signetti, of course, but they're probably the two best Saban assistants. So, the Saban Assistant Bowl, and then, of course, the Falcons host the 49ers tonight on Sunday Night Football. So, we're going to talk about Georgia. We're going to talk about the Georgia-Ole Miss game. I got to take some accountability for Bobo. Got to talk about Bobo, and then we'll get into the Falcons. So, let's start out with UGA Ole Miss. UGA wins 43-35 in a back-and-forth thriller where I believe total, I don't think Georgia punted. Did Georgia punt? I don't think Georgia punted at all. Yeah, where Georgia didn't punt and Ole Miss didn't punt until the fourth quarter. Before I get into Georgia, I got to give my hats off. Salute Trinidad Chambliss, 13-36, 263 yards, a touchdown, 9 carries for 42 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's 305 yards and 3 touchdowns total. Hats off to Lane Kiffin. Look, if I'm Florida, I throw the bag at Lane Kiffin. At this point, Lane Kiffin is an offensive genius. He was out there, and I'm going to say college football offensive genius. I don't know about pro football because you're never going to see two quarterbacks with the sweep and all of that stuff that they were doing. But he was out there cooking Glenn Schumann in the first half. They scored 5 straight touchdowns and were 6 for 6 on third down, if I'm not mistaken, in the first half. They were out of their. He was out of his mind. He was out of his mind. I think, like I said, I think Lane Kiffin is probably, sorry, I'm trying to get the word out. People keep saying, am I live yet? I think for the most part, the receiving core, you had Stribling, of course, he had 1 catch for 75 yards and a touchdown, but outside of that, 2 catches for 21 yards. They spread the ball around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different players caught a pass. Lane Kiffin was cooking for Ole Miss. The thing is, I don't know if, why does it say I'm not live? Say I'm not live? It should say I'm live. Let me know if I'm live on Instagram, y'all. Go over to the Splashcast for me and click on it. I should be live. Yeah, I'm live. Okay, we're good to go. But for the most part, Lane Kiffin was cooking in the first half, and Glenn Schumann could not figure out that defense. Figured out that offense. Not Al Golding. Whoo, that is an old name. Ole Miss's defensive coordinator. Whew, boy, they should have a conference call with you on Monday. You couldn't stop a nosebleed. I think Georgia had 500 total yards of offense, 500 plus total yards. Gunnar Stockton, 26-31, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns. Georgia ran for 221 yards, and that's including a minus 3. I think for sacks, and of course, I think kneeling the ball. Georgia was playing out of their mind. So if I could, I would say this was one of the best games offensively that Georgia has had. I know y'all are waiting on it. So I gotta have integrity. Mike Bobo. I stand on everything I said. First off, y'all in my DMs telling me that I should apologize to Mike Bobo. I'm not apologizing to Mike Bobo for what I said. I do believe everything that I said. Mike Bobo throws plays away. Mike Bobo at times makes his play calling is baffling. But this game, I don't know if it was because we were playing against Lane Kiffin, and Lane Kiffin just kept scoring, and it forced Mike Bobo to kind of not throw plays away. And when I say throw plays away, here's an example. 3rd and 7. I mean, second, we get a negative play, right? On first down. First and we now 2nd and 13 or 2nd and 15. 2nd and 15 on a negative play, Mike Bobo runs a draw or runs a bubble screen. To me, that's a throwaway play. And then we'll have throwaway drives. It'll be bubble screen, dive, bubble screen, or something like that. And it just doesn't make sense. So I stand on everything I said about Bobo. But I got to have integrity when I talk about the last 6 quarters. The last 6 quarters, your UGA's offense has been humming. Mike Bobo has had less throwaway plays. I think against Ole Miss, I got frustrated in the first half. We had 2 throwaway plays that I can remember. It was 2nd and 17. We ran a draw, and then on 3rd and goal, 2nd and goal, while we were running the ball down Ole Miss's throat, we ran a halfback pass, which made no sense to me. Gunnar Stockton runs that read option about as well as I've seen anybody run it in the country. I would probably say Vanderbilt and Ole Miss too. Vanderbilt and Ole Miss run the read option just as well, but Gunnar Stockton runs that really, really well. I couldn't understand why I don't understand the love that Georgia has for Cash Jones and trying to get him the ball in critical moments. Yes, he's clutch at times. I get that. But there was no need to run a halfback pass when you are gashing Ole Miss. And then after that, Mike Bobo called a hell of a game, throwing the ball down the field, read option, sticking with the run. He didn't really run to the short side of the field a lot, which was fantastic for me. One thing that this Georgia staff does really, really well is make adjustments. Kobe Young has a broken leg, fractured leg, broken leg. You call it what you want, which is absolutely crazy to me for everything that he's been through. But on the fly, we just started throwing to the tight ends. I think Lawson Lucky had a good game. He had 3 touchdowns. Oscar Delp had a good game. We started throwing to our freshmen. What's up, Party of Two? Shout out to Party of Two, our Brew Crew, our sponsors. Make sure y'all like, follow, and subscribe. We were throwing to other receivers, and then we got Dylan Bell involved. Zachariah Branch had 8 catches for 71 yards, and they weren't all bubble screens. Thank you, God. Dylan Bell is the Swiss Army knife that he needs to be. We threw the ball deep to him. We ran reverses. We ran slants. We used our tight ends to be 6'5", 6'4". We did. Lawson Lucky had an amazing game. We used our tight ends to post up, and you even heard Lawson Lucky say it in the post game, right? They were really, really complimentary of Gunnar Stockton and Bobo, but he did say in recent weeks the tight ends have been frustrated because they hadn't been getting a lot of targets. That's on Bobo, right? But this game, 5 catches, 43 yards, 3 touchdowns for Lawson Lucky. Oscar Delp, 4 catches, 42 yards. Dylan Bell, 2 catches, 57 yards, and probably the catch of the game. Hell of a call on that pass, deep pass in the fourth quarter to kind of seal it for Georgia, throwing it to Dylan Bell. Kobe Young had 1 for 36 and then got hurt. London Humphreys came out of the way. He can block out of this world. Chauncey Bowens, 2 for 16 out of the backfield. Nate Frazier. We really spread the ball around. 289 yards with Gunnar Stockton is absolutely fantastic. 289 yards for Gunnar Stockton is fantastic. Again, if Mike Bobo calls the rest of the season like this, Georgia is a dangerous team if they can get healthy on the offensive line. I think a lot of the time, I ain't gonna say a lot of the time, the offensive line is fantastic running the ball. We mashed Ole Miss. Ole Miss's weakness is actually their secondary, but we handled their front seven. That game was probably the best game of the year. You know what game that reminds me of? If you're a real Georgia fan, I'm not gonna say a real Georgia fan. If you're an SEC fan, college football fan, you remember Aaron Murray, right? Aaron Murray played for Georgia, number 11. There's a game where we played his backup, Zach Mettenberger, who went to LSU. Mettenberger's family played for, worked at Georgia, worked in the staff for UGA Athletics, and he transferred to LSU. And there was a back and forth game between UGA and LSU at home, where LSU was ranked. UGA, I think, had 1 loss. Very similar situation to this game versus Ole Miss. And Mike Bobo called a hell of a game. This is the exact same thing that happened. Again, for Bobo, if you put pressure on him from the other team, put pressures on him offensively, he'll open it up. I think us going and using the seniors as well as using the taller freshmen, throwing deep to them is good. And he called a great game in spite of Gunnar Stockton as well. And when I say in spite of, you're like, well, you're being contradictory, right? You just gave Gunnar Stockton big ups for 26 of 31. He went 12 for 12 in the second half. Yes. In the first half, Gunnar Stockton missed Oscar Delp wide open. London Humphreys wide open for a touchdown. It's like Gunnar Stockton got nervous. He missed Cash Jones in the flat for the 2-point conversion. And then he rectified that in the fourth quarter when he hit Nate Frazier for the touchdown, right in the flat. So again, shout out to the coaching staff for coaching up Gunnar. I think we forget at times that Gunnar Stockton is a first-year starter. He hasn't started a game for real since, other than the SEC championship game in the playoff, and he didn't start the SEC championship game. I'm sorry. The playoff game, he hasn't really started a lot of games. So he's still learning. So I'll back off Gunner a little bit, but he's gonna have to be able to read coverages, man. If y'all go to my Threads account, I'm not really on Twitter outside of just posting the Splashcast, but if you go to my Threads account, Atlanta Rays is the same everywhere. You can see my thought process, and I really try to do that. I really try to have my thought process and send my thoughts on Threads to be able to keep up with how I felt in the moment during the game. Gunnar Stockton missed so many passes in the first half, but Mike Bobo actually kind of masked it. If he missed the pass, we got the first down the next play. Chauncey Bowens played well. Nate Frazier, that two-headed monster of running backs is scary. Dylan Bell and Zachariah Branch, that two-headed monster of playmakers, is scary. Now, Kobe Young is gone, so we're going to have some of those freshmen, those talented freshmen, step up. And we're going to have to utilize our tight ends. But if you look at Georgia's offensive skill positions, they have two running backs. They have two-ish, maybe three tight ends. And now we just have to figure out the wide receiver situation. I think that's a problem pretty much everywhere. We talk about the Falcons too. Shout out to the crowd atmosphere. UGA showed up and showed out. Ole Miss, again, proved they can score with anybody. Gunnar Stockton reminds me of Stetson Bennett before he left going and went to junior college, right? He was good read option, good mobile quarterback, but he was really having trouble reading, according to the reports, because he didn't really play a lot. He was really having a lot of trouble reading coverages and going to second, third, and fourth receivers. Gunnar Stockton has the same thing. But Gunnar Stockton has this poise, this gum shit. Is that what you want to call it? This it factor about him in the second half. This whole team does. I said it before that Georgia is the best second half team in the country. And honestly, I don't know how many teams are going to stop Ole Miss for real. Ole Miss is crazy. I think last week was an aberration. I think they just overlooked Wazoo looking ahead to Georgia, and I think that's why that game was harder than it needed to be. I love how Gunnar Stockton has grown week to week. Again, 289 yards, 12 of 12 in the second half, 3 touchdowns, going basically Bobo and Gunnar going tit for tat with Chambliss, Austin Simmons too, who played, and Lane Kiffin. That was one of the best games. Again, before I move on to the defense, I'm not apologizing for what I said about Bobo earlier. Y'all can DM me all you want to. It's still the same for me. He's going to have to I have to come up here and give him credit because he's done it now for a game and a half, maybe 2 games. But he's got to keep it going. We still got to play Texas. We still got to play Georgia Tech, right? I think we still got to play Kentucky. So, you're going to have to make sure you call good games, especially against Georgia Tech. Maybe he's evolved. Kirby did say that we're going to work on throwing the ball down the field. With that being said, the defense. I like Ellis Robinson IV. I think he got a raw deal on a couple of those pass interference plays. KJ Bolden. I need him to make some more plays as a safety. Georgia's defense lacks playmakers. They lack playmakers. To me, we don't have those edge rushers. Our linebackers and our DBs, our nickelback, Jonel Aguero, CJ Allen, Raylan Wilson, top notch. Probably gonna be top 3 round draft picks. Our secondary, DeMello Jones, is starting to prove himself and kind of separate himself from me. He had a rough go of it in the first half, but the whole defense did. Ole Miss scored on 5 straight possessions. 5. And I'm not talking about scored 5 straight touchdowns. 5 straight touchdowns going into the fourth quarter. And then they didn't score anymore. But as par for the course with Georgia, whenever they figure it out, whenever the coaching staff figures out what they need to do, they shut it down. They shut Ole Miss down. Ole Miss had 9 yards in the fourth quarter, I want to say. Maybe 12. They didn't really do anything. They punted 3 times, three and outs. Shout out to the defense, man. I also like how Kirby Smart was using Quintavious Johnson in the second half. All of that, dropping him into the flat and trying to like get in the passing lanes and all that. No. Keep it simple, stupid. Y'all remember that in high school? KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Let 33 go be 33, bro. Let him go get the ball. Let him go find Chris Cole. Once Georgia gets ahead of you, you are allowed to then take the sum of the parts. I won't say we have like the one playmaker. All of our edge rushers transferred to Missouri. But the sum of the parts, the Chris Coles, the Quintavious Johnsons, though Josh Horton, big play Josh Horton, who took number 81. If you're going back and looking at the highlights, go look at Josh Horton, number 81 in the fourth quarter. He absolutely ate alive Ole Miss, Ole Miss's offensive line. But if you can allow some of the parts edge rushers to get ahead and then not have to think, we're actually pretty good. We're actually pretty good. Gabe Harris, he had some pressures. That secondary, Dalen Everett, outside of that one pass where you allowed that 75-yard touchdown, where I really blame, I don't have any blame. That was just a great call by Lane Kiffin. He saw that it was man and we were going to blitz and they ran a slant and all you have to do is make one man miss. At it is what it is. But outside of that, Dalen Everett, low-key, has been kind of locked down. It's just the other side that they've had to figure out. DeMello Jones. I never realized how young Georgia's defense is. I don't think we have a senior outside of Dalen Everett in the secondary. I think we're going to lose CJ Allen and Raylan Wilson in linebackers, but there's still Chris Cole. They're so deep on the back seven, the linebackers and DBs. We're going to lose some D tackles. Xavier McLeod is probably going to go. Christian Miller is probably going to be out of there after this year. I mean, he's got to be out of there. But we have so many other players. If we can focus on getting back our elite edge rushers or developing our edge rushers, and I hate to say it because I'm a big guy that likes the high school recruiting and getting the players in and developing them, but that's over with now. You're going to have to go to the portal. That's why I said it's over with now. You're going to have to go to the portal and get some edge rushers, even if it's situational, like you did in Alabama. When Kirby was at Alabama, you're going to have to go and get some edge rushers, some game changers, some guys that people fear. We don't have any edge rushers that people fear. They could progress. They are getting better, and we're going to need them. But for the most part, we are a smother you defense. We're not going to, we're attacking, but we have to blitz. I'm going to need better out of Glenn Schumann in the first half. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm not going to say that because Glenn Schumann allowed 10 points last game in the first half. Again, you have to also give credit to Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin is a guru, and he was whooping Schumann's ass in the first half. He was whooping Schumann's ass in the first half, but credit to Schumann. Again, once they figure it out, they figure it out. The defense shows cracks, but they're good at adjusting. I think if UGA wins out, of course, they'll probably rematch with Bama in the SEC championship game. I don't remember who UGA played. Let's look at UGA's schedule real quick. Real quick. Bear with me. We're going to look at UGA's schedule. I believe they still have Georgia Tech. They still have Texas, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So UGA has to play Florida, which is I don't care if Florida's 3-4. Florida's defense is crazy. And their offense has all the pieces. They're just, not very well coached. right? So it's a rivalry game. So my thing is with rivalry games, you throw away the record and you multiply whatever somebody's rating is by 10, right? So if somebody's a 30, their rating's going to be 300. I'll say by 150, because they're going to be playing out of their mind on emotion, and this is going to be Florida's Super Bowl or Florida's national championship, right? If they beat Georgia, that may actually get Billy to keep his job. So then we play Mississippi State, Texas, throwaway game with Charlotte, and then we play Georgia Tech. So 4 out of the last 5 games are tough. 2 of them are ranked, and Mississippi State just gave Florida all they could handle, and they really should have beaten Tennessee. So at this point, Georgia still has a lot of work to do, but I believe that they should be favored in every game going forward. So if Georgia wins out, then all of a sudden, let's look at these standings. Now, if Georgia wins out, which is crazy because I think Alabama and Texas A&M are still undefeated in the SEC. So Georgia may win out and not make it to the SEC championship game because Alabama still has South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma. South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma, Eastern Illinois, and Auburn. That's a tough schedule. Where Texas A&M still has Missouri, LSU, South Carolina, and Texas throwaway game against Stanford. So we don't know what could happen, but if everything holds true here, Georgia will not be SEC champions, but they will be in the playoff, and they'll probably be top 5. So this is going to be an interesting end, an interesting November for sure for UGA. All right, let's transition. We had Georgia. It is now time to talk about my Falcons. Victory. Hopefully we have another victory Monday like we did last week. Shannon, the Falcons are playing against the San Francisco 49ers. Raheem facing the Shanahan system. 2 former assistants under Dan Quinn when we went to the Super Bowl. This is going to be an interesting game. Atlanta has to assert itself in this game. The 49ers are hurt literally everywhere. They have Christian McCaffrey and nobody else, right? Brock Purdy's hurt. Ricky Pearsall's hurt. Matter of fact, let's go to NFL real quick. Brock Purdy's hurt. Ricky Pearsall's hurt. Fred Warner is out for the season. Am I skipping a little bit? Dang, the Rams are up 28-0 on Jacksonville, y'all. The Rams are up 28-0 on Jacksonville, which is absolutely crazy. Where's that? Where are my Falcons? Where's my Falcons game? Let's go to the 49ers. The 49ers, I think Jawan Jennings has like a whole broken upper half. Am I skipping? It's because I'm opening up ESPN, y'all. So pardon the skips. But all right, here we go. Brock Purdy out. Kevin Givens, questionable. Fred Warner out. Renardo Green, questionable. Jake and Cowing out. Gross Maton out. Ricky Pearsall out. Brandon Ayuk out. Nick Bosa, injury reserve. And there's more. I don't know any of these other people. But with the amount of injuries that the 49ers have today, there's no reasons that the Falcons shouldn't blow them out. And I'm not saying they will, because of course we temper expectations because the Falcons are extremely, extremely inconsistent. Okay, we good. The Falcons are extremely, extremely inconsistent. But to me, what I'm looking for in this game is Bijan Robinson versus Christian McCaffrey. I think prisoner of the moment folks are saying that Bijan is the best back in the league. While he is probably top 3 for sure, Christian McCaffrey and Saquon have been the standard for a while, guys. This is a chance for you to go head to head against Saquon Barkley. I'm sorry, against Christian McCaffrey, who you've worked out with, who's a good buddy of yours, and assert yourself as the best back in the league. Falcons 3-2, 1-1 away. 49ers 4-2, 1-1 at home. The spread is only 1.5 points. Even with all those injuries from the 49ers, the spread is that the Falcons are just a 1.5 point favorite. To me, Falcons got to do a few things. We got to run the ball. And hopefully we feed Drake London. I expect us to feed Drake London and Kyle Pitts a lot this game. I believe we get Darnell Mooney back. But again, Darnell Mooney's coming off another injury. So you never know what it's like for him to get back in the game. He may end up having a big second half, but not a big first half, because you don't really know what it's like coming back, especially a hamstring injury. So I expect Drake London to have a huge game this tonight against them. And on the defensive side, look, Shanahan and zone blocking, him and his dad basically invented it, right? I'm not going to say if they didn't invent it, they perfected it, right? The zone blocking scheme. But you also practice against the zone blocking scheme every day. You know about the zone blocking scheme. They do get Kittle back. They have Juszczyk, which is a fullback, which is, I said before that the fullback is a very difficult play for us because our linebackers are kind of on the light side. Devon Diablo is a safety converted to linebacker now, and Jalen Walker is out. And from what I've seen from Jalen Walker, he's one of our best run defending edge rushers. He's relentless trying to get to the quarterback, but he blows up guards and fullbacks. He absolutely destroys them. And he was the linchpin for a lot of our exotic blitz packages. Got all of that wrong. He was the linchpin for most of our exotic blitz packages against Buffalo. Had to say that a little slow. So if he is the linchpin for all of our blitz packages, him being out may hurt a little bit. So Arnold Ebiketie, you've played well. Nobody has really said your name because you haven't messed up. You have defended the run well, and you have also gotten to the quarterback. He's going to have to step up. All of this depth that we have along the defensive line and linebackers that we have, this is the reason you have all those guys. So I expect for our defense to key in on Christian McCaffrey, to make life hell for Mac Jones, because he's really not mobile. And remember, he's got that little knee issue too, right? Mac Jones has that little knee issue as well, where he's not as mobile. And I expect for us, we're going to have to play our bigger defensive lineman. We got Taquan Graham back. Shout out to TQ. So we should be able to defend the run a little bit better. Even though we have the number one defense in the league. I know y'all are probably saying I'm nitpicking, but I expect for the defense to get a heavy dose of Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. And if we can shut those two down, then it's curtains for you. Curtains, blitz, heavy, and often. Y'all, let's pivot real quick. What the hell is going on with Ray McCloud? He was a DNP. Actually, he was a healthy scratch. A DNP means he actually just got dressed and didn't get into the game. He was a healthy scratch against Buffalo. And then this week he was sent home, and it wasn't Ike Hilliard related. It's not injury related. And we don't know when he's going to be back. So the speculation was that he's on the trading block because the Falcons do have to figure out what we're going to do at the other receiver, the 1 and 2. I'm sorry, the 2 and 3. And y'all let me know in the chat, should we make a play for a number 2 receiver and maybe move Mooney to the slot? If we do that, I'm just to let you know, if we get another receiver, trade for a receiver and put Mooney in the slot and let Ray go, I'm gonna let y'all know now. I said that earlier, and I'm gonna tell you I told you so. And I'm gonna have the clip ready because I said it way back in the summer when I did my Camp Confidential, where I was just talking about the Falcons and we previewed all the positions. I talked about the receivers. But then something weird came out yesterday where Ray, and I think his team kind of, if you think about branding and all that, he probably had to post something and respond to where he said, he wished the Falcons good luck and told Mooney and Drake London to go out there and handle business out there in San Francisco, and then left it open with, you know what I mean, or you know what I'm talking about. I'm confused. I don't know what the hell is going on. So, and the thing is, Ray is not even a gadget guy. He used to be a gadget guy in all of his stops before. He was return man. He was like a reverse guy, but he's actually been a serviceable number 3 receiver. And to me, he fits perfectly with our offense when everybody's aligned because he doesn't demand the ball. You have Drake, you have Mooney, and you have Kyle Pitts and Bijan and Algier. Right? So Ray and like a Charlie Warner are great for our offense because they just handle their job. Charlie Warner just goes and demolishes people. He plays fullback, he plays tight end, H-back, and then you also bring in Felipe Franks, who does the quarterback sneak and can also block pretty well as well. I know my podcast partner Norwood loves to hear that. He's a Florida fan who hates Felipe Franks, by the way. So I don't know what's happening with Ray. But, and you can't really read things on the surface, and they're being so closed mouth against it. I don't know what's happening, but y'all let me know. Should the Falcons go out and get another receiver? How are we going to go get another receiver? Right? We already spent too much draft capital. What are we going to do? What would y'all do with Kirk Cousins? Would you keep him? At this point, you might as well keep him and ride this thing out and see what you can get in the offseason. If Kirk Cousins, if you let him go in the offseason, the dead cap drops significantly, and now you have money to go improve and fill in the holes of the roster. But for me right now, with the way this season is playing out, you kind of got to take advantage of the present. You can't really plan for the future right now. Shanahan style motion, misdirection, screenplays, action. I think that falls really, really well into our defense because of our speed. I hate that Billy Bowman is hurt. Happy we got AJ Terrell back. Shout out to D Alford. D Alford letting y'all know y'all crazy as hell for saying he should be cut. I think D Alford, Billy Bowman, and Natron Brooks are going to stay. We may have seen the end of Clark Phillips, y'all. We may have seen the end of Clark Phillips. I don't know. He hasn't really made an impact, and he was so good when he was healthy, and then he just fell out of favor. So it is what it is. But score predictions. I have the Falcons winning. Y'all gonna tell me I'm crazy for this, right? I have the Falcons winning 27-10. 27-10. But we have to block Mykel Williams. Shout out to UGA. We have to block Mykel Williams. If we can block their down linemen, specifically Mykel Williams, who is really rounding into his own out there in San Francisco, we should have a big day. I think with especially with Fred Warner being hurt, I look for Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson and that interior offensive line of Bergeron, Lindstrom, and Nuzul to maul the San Francisco 49ers. Before I go, I just said his name, Nuzul. I was giving you flack. Again, integrity. I was giving you flack. You played a hell of a game against Buffalo. If you can command the offense the way that you're doing from the center position, getting everybody in working with Penix, because he's still technically he's a second-year rookie, is what I call him. And you can get everybody aligned correctly on the offensive line and get our protection correct, man, you're in line for a payday. So, well, I look for the Falcons again, 27-10. Y'all drop y'all score predictions in the chat. Y'all drop y'all score predictions in the comments. I'll post some of these out on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're trying to get to 1,000 followers so we can start streaming the TikTok as well, guys. We can have some of those conversations. Y'all let me know. Again, like, follow, subscribe. Thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for joining me on this Sunday. I had a little bit of time. I'm going to try to go live more and more for about 30, 45 minutes. Y'all let me know. Drop your usernames in the chat. Appreciate y'all. Again, like, follow, subscribe. We're out of here. Dive Team Media Network. Peace.